We are live. Welcome to Good Thinking, the live show on LinkedIn, also streaming live on YouTube. And welcome all of you regular good thinkers. I'm so excited for today's episode because it's such an important topic. And there's some research that can help us with this feeling that we have that we're making good decisions based on some things that might not exactly be the case. And so here's how to improve our decision making. As you know, good thinking, the Good Thinking Show, Good Thinking Live, is really just a little tiny opportunity each week, Mondays, 9 a.m. Portland, Oregon, Pacific time, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, wherever you are. This is just a little bit of an opportunity to steal time away from all of the time that we are spend being told or telling ourselves what to think. Do this like this. If you're one of these, you need to think like that. And instead, just stealing a little bit of time away from that to focus on improving how to think. Not what, how. So that's what we're going to do. So first of all, please weigh in. If you're here, say hi. Don't be quiet. Don't be shy. Even if you just say, I'm here from wherever, tell us where you're from, because that just shows that all of these good thinkers, it tells us that there are good thinkers out there, that people who want to also think about how to think. And that creates a fun tribe of good thinkers. So let us know that you're here. Just say, hey, I'm so-and-so from such and such place. Anyway, today's going to be an incredibly interesting show because of the fact that this is a topic about which we all have this feeling that we understand, but we're not really quite sure what the science says. And that has to do with our intuition, our gut. And we hear things like never trust your gut or never trust your intuition. That's more rare than you should always trust your intuition or, I have a really good intuition. So we'll start with, once you guys say, hey, you're here, whatever, fantastic. I'm going to, as usual, be looking a little bit on my, also on my phone so I can see comments. Sometimes I miss them because they scroll too fast. So if I miss you, it's not because I intended to, it's because of two things. It scrolls fast and I am blind. I cannot see very well. Not blind, but I have really poor eyesight. So I have to kind of look and look. All right. How many decisions do you think you make each day? And definitely share in the comments because that's what is so fun about this. So let me know, once you let me know that you're here and where you're from. Tell me, how many decisions do you make each day? And you've got big decisions like, should I retrain for a new job? And you've got little decisions like, should I have a second cup of coffee or tea? And you have little decisions all day long, like should I brush my teeth for another 10 seconds? So I'm counting all of those decisions, but they're little decisions, some of which we don't even know that we make, and some of which are very clear that they are looming decisions in these incredible times of uncertainty. Do I move? Do I retrain? Maybe you're making hiring decisions. Do I hire this person? How do I think about all of these issues? So take a guess on how many decisions you think you make each day. Now, studies have an answer for this, and they suggest that the average person makes 35,000 decisions each day. Now, that is, let's say you sleep for 7 hours. Hopefully, you're getting at least 7 hours sleep. If not, I'm going to recommend Why We Sleep. Read that book. Unbelievable. Assuming you don't make decisions in your sleep, which we're not so sure about, but let's make that assumption. We'll work on that assumption. This means that you make 2,000 decisions per hour or one decision every 2 seconds. So decision. Now, hopefully you're making a decision to be here. Hopefully you're making a decision to participate because this is going to be a lot of fun. And for those of you who are here early or on time, rather, or at the start, not if there's any, and I'm going to check and see who's here in just a second. There is one thing that seems like it's a good barometer for whether we should trust our intuition, trust our gut, and it is not. And at the end, I will reveal that one thing. Now, if you think you know what that one thing is, then put a little asterisk, a little star with what you think it is in the comment section, and we'll see if you're right. And if you're wrong, then you're like most people, because I didn't know this until I delved into the research either. So we're all learning. All right, I'm going to say hi. We've got Umut. Hi from Turkey. Oh, I'd love to go to Turkey someday. Oh, to travel again. We have got Turkey from Turkey and from KSA, really interested in decision making, especially big decisions that have a high future impact. Yeah. Just a little hint. Those of you who are part of good thinking, I am working on something really, really incredibly exciting, well, at least to me, hopefully to you, for those people that are interested in high stakes, high impact decision making. And it's going to be, I'll talk about it more, and there'll be an opportunity for members of, good thinkers, people who are here, people who are part of the Good Thinking Show, to be an early part of the pilot. So actually, please let me know if you're interested in learning more. If you put it in the comments, great, and you feel free to private message me if you are interested in learning more. And we've got Stephen here from Cascadia, meaning the Pacific Northwest, yay, of the United States. So we've got some people on the call already, and we are going to get started with asking a very important question to frame to frame how we think and how we make decisions, and then how we know a recipe for knowing when you can trust your intuition, backed by science. All right. Now, let's say that you have a product to launch and you want to know if you want to wait to launch the product now during this, crazy time of uncertainty, or later, or you have a hiring decision to make, or you have a personal decision to make, whether you should abandon your chosen field that you studied for and do something else, or you should retrain or whatever. When you have an important complex decision, let's use the example of going after a promotion. What is your default judging style, how you judge this decision? Because we want to know how you start, and then we're going to talk about one of them in particular. And by the way, there's not, you don't be shy if this is, just be truthful about what you tend to default to. Even if later, after you default to one way, you kind of catch yourself and switch it up or mix it up. So here are the ways. Think about it like hog, like pig, but hog. HOG. All right. And that stands for head, others, and gut. Okay. So and you can write in the comments, what is your default? Are you ahead? Do you kind of start going to the head? Do you start kind of thinking about, or kind of cross-pollinating and asking others? Or do you go with your gut? And I'll give a little example of each, and then you can weigh in to let me know what your default thinking style is. Okay. Ibrahim is here from Egypt. Fantastic. Oh gosh, we've got such great representation from all over. I love it. All right. So the head is when you apply your first default, not what you do 5 minutes later, but your first default is applying data and experience to analyze a situation. And by experience, I don't mean like your personal anecdotal experience, but maybe if you've got a lot of experience in a particular thing that is based on training and based on evidence. So for example, you're going after this promotion and you want to know, and I'm actually borrowing this scenario from my LinkedIn Live course, Critical Thinking for Better Judgments and Decision Making, or for improving your decision making. Critical Thinking, you can find it on LinkedIn Learning. Anyway, so I'm borrowing this example. So for those of you who have seen the course, you kind of know, you might be familiar with this example, but there's new stuff that we're going to hit. So you're going after this promotion, and you look at the data that says the last 5 years, 87% of all promotions were initiated during annual reviews. So you're going to wait, it's 3 months to your annual review. Statistically, you have a much more likely chance, you deduce based on that evidence that there is a much more likely chance of having that discussion work in your favor if you address it and wait till your annual review. So that would be one kind of way that you would decide. Pras, hi, Pras. Hi from India. I'm going to try to get to people and interrupt in between. But okay, so that's head. So don't vote yet. I mean, unless you know for sure that's the way you do it. Okay, that's the H of the hog. Okay, the second one is when others. That when you have a decision to make, in this case, going after a promotion, you look to others. What you either talk to others or you look what's happened to other people, and then you expand based on that point of view or others' points of view. So in this case, you're going after the promotion. Maybe you're going to seek the advice of a colleague who was promoted last year, so you know what worked for her or him. And so maybe you talk to a number of colleagues, but that's a way where you kind of gather information based on others, where someone tells you, hey, this is what worked for me, and then you use that to guide your decision. So that would be the O of hog. And the third one is the gut, or your intuition. And so that would be that. And intuition is thinking you know something without relying on conscious reasoning. It just kind of, it happens in the gut. And it's interesting, we'll get into this, there's some interesting science about the euphemism of trust your gut or not trust your gut, the gut being a kind of a placeholder for intuition, because there's some interesting gut brain science we're discovering now. So the gut is, you're going after this job promotion, and you think, I'm doing a really good job, and it feels like a good time to ask, because it seems like people really are recognizing that I'm doing a good job. So it seems like a good time to ask. Okay, so there's no right answer. Head, others, gut. What is important is an integration of all of these and an awareness of all these. But what is your default? Where do you go to first? Jennifer says, hi, Jennifer. Jennifer says, I think a little of all three. But usually you don't default right away to all three, because you can't. You default to one. Like maybe you do, but you wouldn't necessarily at the same time have a gut instinct and then go to people and then also go to data. Where do you go to first? Because you're right that an integration of all three is the best, but one might default to something else. All right. Anyone else have? I'm going to look on my phone because I cannot see on the screen. It doesn't scroll very well. I'm going to look on my phone and see who has some. Okay, so, I want to say, Jenny, hi from Fort Worth, Texas. Fantastic. I'm just looking here. All right. Who wants to weigh in on your hog default style? Head, others, gut. All right. As you are doing this, because there's a slight delay between when I'm saying this and when I'm seeing your response, we're going to dive into how you can trust your intuition. Okay, so we've got Jenny and Jennifer both say head. Their default is head, and that that's a good one. I don't know. I think I want to say mine's head. I think and maybe I'm triggered by some data or something, and that makes me start thinking about it. So I don't think that the first eye contact gives the most impression, which is mostly true for me. Okay, but making a decision, you may not have eye contact right away. So like, let's say you're sitting at home by yourself and you've got a decision to make. How do where do you go first? What's your default? All right. That's good. Umit, that's good though. First eye contact. Okay. That might mean that you really are in tune to others, and you kind of use that as a barometer for how you make decisions, which is great. Now, an integration of all three is important, but now we're going to dive into the gut, intuition. And I'm going to give you a really fun tool that is based on the science, behavioral science, to know when and when you can't trust your intuition. And here's how you're going to think about it. Think about it like a referee in a game. And this is the one who says, okay, I'm going to stop this action. You can't do this. You should do this. This is REF. So the acronym is REF, REF, like your personal referee. And these represent the three conditions that must be in place, must be in place for you to know that you can trust your gut, trust your intuition. Okay. We've got some others. We've got turkey, 100% or 90% head. That's, yep. 90% head. We've got others. We've got head. I don't have anyone saying that they are defaulting to gut. Come on, be honest here. 50 head, 50 tails, 50 head, Jenny. I'm going to trust, you know what? You trust a flip of the coin, which is sometimes a good tool when you've got, not high stakes. Tone intonation is more important to be expressive. Okay, we've got some really good feedback rolling in here on really, thank you, good thinkers. You're awesome. Anyway, all right, here we go. We're going to dive into ref. Ref, regularity, exposure, and feedback. Let me explain. For the situation to be one where you can trust your intuition, and by the way, you sometimes can trust your intuition. Remember to try to remove always and nevers from your thought process, because that's not necessarily optimal thinking. Optimal thinking is kind of digging into the nuance. There are times when one can trust their intuition. The first condition is regularity. And by that, I mean the system that you are evaluating doesn't have tremendous outside variables. So like a chess game has a lot of regularity. A lot can happen on that chessboard, but the likelihood of a bird coming and pooping on your chessboard or doing something, it's a regular system. Games tend to have a lot of regularity. So if the system, but remember, all three of the conditions have to be in place. So it's not just one thing that needs to be in place. Okay. Another thing is, how many of you have kids? I don't know. How many of you have kids? For those, let me know if you have kids and if you've changed a lot of diapers. That can be a regular occurrence where you put the baby down, and this probably applies more to if you have a baby boy. You put the baby down and you're changing the diaper, and it's regular. You have a system. You put them down, you do this, you do that. That could be regular. And I'm going to get, or that could have regularity, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Okay, so that's the condition number one, like a chess game. Number two condition is exposure. You have to have a lot of exposure to the regular condition. So a big decision on whether you should launch a product doesn't have enough regularity, but if you've launched 30 products in your life, you might feel, wow, I have a lot of exposure to launching products. That's true, but you don't have regularity. All right. So we've got a couple of others. Great comments. I'm kind of watching them roll in. I'm loving this. Now, remember, I asked a question at the beginning. What is one condition that seems like it should be something we should consider trusting our intuition, but it's so not, like a super not. One condition, and we'll get to this at the end, but if you have a hint, if you have an intuition about what the answer is, put a little asterisk in the answer, or just put the answer. All right. So with exposure means what it sounds like. It's enough, like enough practice, enough exposure to it. It's like a chess master's exposure to chess. Or again, if you've changed a lot of diapers in the same way, then you've got regularity and exposure. Or if you're like a seasoned leader who has presented something very specific, like a new product at a company meeting, you've done that many, many times. Or you're a professional interviewer interviewing a candidate for a job, and you've done it many, 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 many times, you might have a lot of exposure. Obviously, someone who plays, like, pick your favorite video game, you might have a ton of exposure playing this video game. So that's another. So we've got regularity and exposure. All right. So we've got some comments I think are really interesting. So Ibrahim, I'm really bad with names, and plus I'm trying to read on the fly, but says something interesting, which says, I think it depends on different situations. 100% correct. Ding, ding, ding. Chickens for you, because that's the point. The condition has to be have regularity, and it has to have exposure, and then there's 1/3 condition in place. Jennifer says, judging other people. That's interesting. Tone, yeah, true. Okay, we've got some good answers here. All right. The third condition. Are you ready for the third condition? Think about a chess game. You've got a lot of regularity. Think about changing a diaper. You've got a lot of regularity. Think about launching a product. You don't have a lot of regularity. All kinds of market vagaries, like, oh my gosh, like crazy stuff happening. And then but you've got a lot of exposure, but you don't have a lot of regularity. So you might have a lot of exposure if you're a chess master, but someone like me who plays chess, but not a lot of exposure, probably not enough. Third condition, F, feedback. This is important, and this is why games you can allow your intuition to lead you to things in games. Feedback. Feedback has got to be immediate. Meaning, if you've launched a lot of products, you don't have the regularity. If you do something that does not give you immediate feedback, you do not have the conditions in place to trust your intuition. Changing a diaper oftentimes has immediate feedback, particularly for those parents among us who have changed boy diapers. We know that. And we also know sometimes we're like, ooh, I didn't get that other diaper on there fast enough. And I have this intuition that something's going to happen and it's not going to be pretty. Or a chess game where you get the immediate feedback. You move a pawn, you move a rook, and you get immediate feedback as to how that person reacted. So instant feedback. Yes, Jenny, absolutely. Oh, we lost the connection. Have I lost the connection with anyone else? I hope not. I don't know. I don't have any way to know. So Pross says we lost the connection. I hope we have not lost the connection, but maybe we did for a second. I have my Ethernet and then maybe it came back. I don't know. I don't have feedback. I don't have immediate feedback. So I don't have an intuition, even though this is kind of a regular environment and I've done it enough times now, maybe not enough, but enough times to have exposure, but I don't have feedback. So I don't know. Are we here? Okay, all good. Jenny says all good. Fantastic. All right. Any questions about ref? Anything? I don't know why we can't see comments. Well, StreamYard is the streaming service, so it's a little bit clunky sometimes. Any questions about ref and your intuition? How do you guys feel about identifying things where you feel like, I should be able to trust my intuition on this? And this gets to one of the most interesting parts of this, which is the condition that often is in place that does not mean you should trust your intuition. And that is, drum roll please, chickens, confidence. Your confidence that your intuition is correct is not a condition for knowing that you should trust your intuition. And that is some circular reasoning because you've got this gut feeling that you should trust your gut. But if you do not have regularity, and if you do not have exposure, and if you do not have immediate feedback, then you should not trust your gut. And where do you go? That's when you think about hog. You go to head, you find the data, you find the evidence, you make sure it's reliable, you make sure it's relevant. You may go get that data from others. You might talk to experts. Being aware of the expert bias, and beware of the authority bias, making sure that those authorities don't just have authority, but they are an authority. So in the case of going after the promotion, you might have all that data that says with your head that 87% of promotions happened at the annual review. You might talk to your friends and they say, hey, now is a good time to go after that promotion. This is how I did it. You may have this gut instinct that, hey, you're doing a really good job now. You should go after it. But all of those conditions, you might not have done the research to know you might not have done the research to find out that of those 87% of people who got their promotion during their annual review, who had done a good job, just like you, maybe they had posted 5 articles on the company blog, and you had this intuition, this gut that like, yeah, I've got all this information. I've done all my hog stuff. And now I have this intuition that this is what I should do. The question is, wait a minute, should I trust my intuition? Is the condition regular? Have regularity? No. No big decisions. No high stakes, no high impact decisions. None of them should be guided by your gut, by your intuition. It can be a data point. Certainly, you could say, okay, I'm going to use this gut feeling, but that should just be one very kind of undervalued data point in your decision making when you do not have regularity, when you do not have exposure, and when you don't have feedback. Okay, let's see what we've got. When trying things for the first time. Absolutely. When trying things for the first time, you don't have enough exposure. Even in a game, you can't have an intuition. When you're changing your baby boy's diaper for the first time, I can tell you, people told me time and time again, beware, because, if you don't cover everything up, it can go everywhere. I just didn't have enough exposure. Others had told me, but I didn't have enough exposure to know that eventually, I don't know, for those of you guys have to tell me if you've changed diapers, but this is just a simple example, but simple examples that are not complex decisions are the exact kind of examples and decisions that you can use your gut. So most of the complex decisions, you can't. All right. So we've got some more great comments. Let's see what we've got. Might be when trying things for the first time. Absolutely. What do you think about pray? Okay, so, religion can be an interesting, religion's interesting because it's such a personal thing. And it's such a, it's such a important thing for so many of us. But when you think about good thinking, we have to kind of step just for this, how to think. Religion, which is really what to think. It guides you with what to think. And it's super helpful in many, many ways. But it isn't the same as how to think, because how to think has some kind of neurochemical considerations. It gets very complicated. So I want to, say, hey, whatever your belief system is awesome. But this is just a little opportunity to steal some time away from that and more toward how to think. Does that make sense? And I hope I've said it with, the respect and care, but good thinking is somewhat different. Remember, good thinking, the 3 legs of the good thinking stool are strategic thinking, critical thinking, and creative thinking. Now, that does not mean that all other thinking is bad. That's a very different thing. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And you got the gem, the little nugget, that the one thing that you should not use as a barometer or as a measure of whether you should trust your intuition is your confidence in your intuition. I just feel very strongly that this is the right decision. With complex decisions is not good thinking. All right. Regularity, exposure, feedback. Hog, you got your tools. Go forth and make great decisions. Any other comments before we head out? I'm probably seeing some of these late, and I will try to get to all of your comments, whether you're here in the live stream or you comment afterwards. Like I said before, it's a little bit clunky, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm able to respond to comments after, and I'm able to respond in the live stream if you're here live. So join us on LinkedIn Mondays, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And next week, we are going to recircle back to our Good Thinking Manifesto. Now, many of you were here as we started to weigh in on the Good Thinking Manifesto. Watch for LinkedIn. I'm going to and maybe I'll even figure out how to do it on YouTube, but probably it'll be on LinkedIn where you can go, and I will put some of the Good Thinking Manifesto bullets, and we will weigh in. So we will make some final decisions on the manifesto, and we will reveal another really interesting nugget that can add to your arsenal and how to improve how you think. Thanks for being here. Anything else? Have a great week. Remember, use your intuition, referee.